Hello, folks. Power here with a review of the Decade Gekizotai Ridewatch. So this is the Ridewatch that you have to obtain through Gombarizing, in that typical fashion where you have to play certain missions, you have to keep pulling the new event cards. So then you can hope that one of the treasure chests that show up has the icon for this item. So then you can actually call up the store employee, hey, I got the item, open the cabinet. And then they'll have to, walk up to the cabinet, look at the screen, open up the cabinet, pull out the item, hand it to you, so then you can run home, list it on Japanese Mercari for like 100 yen, and then hope that it gets scalped correctly, and then try to sell your hundreds of cards, so then you can actually recuperate how much you spent on this thing. So, after I open this, let's take a look at it. So here we have the Ridewatch out of its package. I don't remember how we filmed these because it's been 2 years or a year. So as you can see from here, the Ridewatch is pretty standard for a gashapon, as I spoiled. Obviously we get the face of Decade Gekijotai. Same color scheme, or I mean this is like the first of its base. Obviously, it's really similar to the Decade Ridewatch, with just non-transparent QR code for Gamba, and it's V041, reset button, activation button, because this isn't the thing, and comparing it with the Gashapon 18 version of the Ridewatch, of the Decade Ridewatch. Basically, it just brings up the fact that for some reason the saturation of the original one is a lot brighter for some reason. Other than that, it's the exact same base. So, I mean, I think this one's a bit brighter, but yeah. So let's go through the sounds. So obviously it's a Gashapon Ridewatch, so we have 4 activation sounds. Let's use the Chica Driver. At the state this thing is dying, I'll change the batteries when it wants to give out. Hold the button down. Obviously it's supposed to be primary pink, but it's red because it's dying. So obviously it uses the same track as Decade. There we have the transformation of essentially the Decade Violent Emotion armor, which I'm pretty sure is just the same exact thing, just with a different face. But honestly, I really like this shortened transformation. I think it's a really neat way of giving us a proper like Decade transformation for a Ridewatch that doesn't like compromise anything, and it makes sense. So obviously we got the time break. So there we get the attack time break, which is, you know, the same exact thing. It's just that it doesn't have the card summoning sound. And obviously, might as well use the Decade Ridewatch. I should have just used the final attack or final form. Yeah, final form ride. Just Decade. This thing has been collecting dust for a while. I apologize for that. So overall, my thoughts on this Ridewatch. I think it's a really cool way, like a really cool first way of us getting a Decade Ridewatch. That wasn't, you know, this one, and one that was consistent. Or I mean, it's not technically consistent with the others, just because obviously this is the evil version from a one-off movie, which is why I also really like this watch, just because like you wouldn't have expected them to do this, but they did it anyway. So it's just really cool that they managed to give us a traditional Decade sound, but do something different about it. My only complaint about this is the fact that this is a Gamba Rising campaign, and this is the point where they started cheapening out on the Gamba Rising campaigns, because, you know, Ghost, X8, and Build all had DX prizes and such. But then from Geo, 01, and Saber, I've already stated this is within my forest progress key, but basically it's just, I don't really like the fact that these aren't DX, because it really makes getting these kind of worthless, especially because the player has spent approximately about $100 to gain this. So, which is why, like Galileo, Proto Quest, and Rider Card, those ones, those ones make sense to see in the aftermarket of being priced up, of being at a price hike, because they're DX. But then this latter half, in my opinion, doesn't make sense because they don't do as much. Like, luckily, obviously, these ones do have the same functionalities as the original Ridewatches, but it's just like the form wise, it's not worth it because it's just a Gashapon Ridewatch. Like, if it was like if honestly, I would have preferred if it was just a campaign type. If it was at least that, then I would have understood why this thing was $70. But at the end of the day, it just never made sense why this one was never a DX Ridewatch to begin with. Which is why it's... Now I can recommend you getting this thing because the price has obviously dropped. But even then, like, if you just want a Ridewatch sized version of the Decade Ridewatch and you don't care what sounds it makes, then I just recommend getting the Gashapon one. Obviously for consistency. But if you actually want the new, like, transformation jingle, then I recommend getting this. But yeah, that'll have to do with this review. So this is PowerRider, and I'll leave you people.